Like I said in the headlines, nearly 100 banks that have been bailed out by the U.S. government are now on the verge of bankruptcy once again. That is according to an analysis of federal data by the Wall Street Journal. It says the number of banks on the brink of collapse rose from 86 to 98 during the summer. The banks are among the institutions that received $4.2 billion in aid from authorities. The government purchased hundreds of billions of troubled assets from these banks back in 2008. 7 of the banks that were bailed out have already failed at a loss of $2.7 billion. Now let's put this in more perspective. I'm going to ask the help of Professor of Economy, Paul Sheldon Foote, all the way from California. Many thanks. He's, of course, with State University. Thanks a lot, Paul Sheldon Foote, for joining our broadcast again. Bailed out banks in danger again. What is the explanation for this? Why haven't these banks, Mr. Foote, made up for their failure?
It's amazing, considering that American banks have been paying savers in recent times nearly 0% interest, certainly less than 1% for most people. If you can't take money that's free money and put it into treasury bills and make a profit, then you have problems. And at the same time, many banks have been wanting to pay bonuses to their officers. And so nothing would be better than to have a few bankruptcy cases go to court so that we can see the documents and find out the truth once and for all about the accounting for these banks.
Yeah, I wonder where the wrong policy is again. Based on some reports, Mr. Foote, President Obama is going to reshuffle his team, as you know. Do you expect perhaps any change of policy in economic or financial spheres, or do you think it's merely change of faces?
I don't think he's as worried anymore about bank failures as he was before. When we first heard the stories about the need to save banks, the political officials were talking about 20 biggest banks too big to fail. Then they revealed the list of the banks that had received federal support, and that list was in excess of 150 banks, including some foreign banks. And the American voters were in shock, saying there's a big difference between 20 banks and 150 banks, and why are we bailing out foreign banks?
Right. Well, Mr. Foote, if you're to believe wrong policies have led things where they are today, then my question, who is to pay for these mistakes, and who is bearing the brunt?
The average saver has paid for it in a big way. We have millions of people at retirement or near retirement who have depended upon savings accounts as a safe way to make money in their retirement years. When you're getting 1/10 of 1% interest on your money or some other small amount without adjusting for possible inflation, you're making zero. You've destroyed that whole group of savers. Obviously, the taxpayers have been hurt thanks to all these federal money bailouts and the weakening of the American currency and of the economy. Many people have paid the price for this, except for the people who should pay the price, and that's the bankers and the politicians who support them.
And what are the chances? You know what? I'm asking this because I'm hearing some people saying there are chances for these banks to actually to come back. How would you comment on that? Are there any chances?
In order for banks to come back, they would have to start making real traditional banking loans to companies that are able to repay them. At the same time, even if they found enough of those, we don't know the truth about all of the bad investments they've had. Unfortunately, ever since the end of Glass-Steagall, we had a blurring of investment banks and banks. We had so-called banks involved in derivatives activities, shorting of securities, investments, not doing traditional banking, all out of the greed and thought that they could make a lot of money, which they failed to do. And now we're asking real bankers to come forward and make money as real bankers. I don't know. I used to work for Citibank myself as an officer in the days when we actually had lending officers who knew how to lend money and get it back. I don't know how many of those people still work in the banking field today.
Many, many thanks. Professor Paul Sheldon Foote with California State University all the way from Irvine, California. Thanks a lot.